Hey guys, welcome to another video, and crikey, that intro sounded a little bit off. Let's try again, shall we? Hey guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about whether or not an ancient setting in general, not just exclusive to ancient Egypt, will work in an Assassin's Creed game. And I'm going to give points for and against, but I suppose we could start with the for, start on the lighter note and then get into the darker stuff, because that's how we roll here. So obviously an ancient setting is going to be good because you don't necessarily have to rely on the events of previous games historically or like otherwise to be able to sort of do what you have to do. You don't have to rely on the lore set up there, and you don't have to make things set up, and you can basically start a set up something else and continue on that path. So they can have a new storyline looking for different pieces of Eden because they're in a different timeline and they're not trying to trace it through history or trying to trace something through history, which I don't ever see as the case in Assassin's Creed. But what I'm trying to say is they don't necessarily have to rely on other games to help explain story arcs and whatnot, so they can explain the story arcs in one game and add a very simple yet detailed game which would really help people to understand what's going on in the game itself. They can also use these ancient settings to give us some origin stories to the Assassins and Templars and show us where they sort of began and how they sort of came to blows and so on and so forth, so we can see how they were started and how they came to blows. Also, people seem to think that technology would have been limited back then, when actually it was probably better than it was in the Middle Ages. So the ancient technology was probably a lot better than the Middle Age technology, and the understanding of, say, science and so on and so forth, one example being ancient Greece, was a lot greater back then than it might have been when everyone was like, oh God, God, burn people at the stake, God, yes, God, Allah, all this stuff. Although I'm not saying that I'm against all that, like, in general, I'm just saying that this is before, like, all of that started kicking in, and they had less sort of connection to religion. Well, they did have religion, and as much religion as they had in the Middle Ages, but they did have their technology as well, and they didn't rely completely on the holy water of Jesus Christ just coming to piss on my face. Not that everyone who believes in a certain religion is like that at all, no. Moving on before I get put on a crucifix, having a game set in an ancient time could give us an insight and a feel for the use of advanced technology back in the day, you know what I'm saying, like back in ancient times where they used this technology, how they used it. It'd be really nice and quite educational to see what they do. They could do several settings in ancient times and probably not run out of material for a good many years. However, we've covered the good stuff, haven't we? Like with technology, less sort of strings, more freedom to roam around. Though history was well documented back then, there's a lot more space for you to put more things in that people aren't going to question as much. So there's so many good things about it, but now let's talk about the bad shit, you know? So it doesn't really take a genius to know that with everything comes cons as well as pros. Now let's talk about the cons of an ancient setting. Now the con for me would be clothing. Now clothing was quite different back then, like where you had sort of more modernized clothing as time progressed. Back in ancient times, the clothing was, sometimes it was literally nothing. So clothing is one of the things that wouldn't really stand there very well, and therefore assassin robes may not exist in said Assassin's Creed game if it was to be set during an ancient time, like Egypt, ancient Rome, or ancient Greece. Those time settings really might not give us much room to have assassin robes, or we could have some, like, I don't know, some cloth thing with a hood on it. That would probably be fine, but I honestly want to see assassin robes. So honestly, I think that although this alleged leak of Assassin's Creed Empire is saying ancient Egypt, I'm more hoping that they mean a more, you know, medieval Egypt, or at least a time where trousers exists, because yeah, I also feel as if giving them an ancient time may give them too much freedom to deter from historical sort of accuracy, which may result in some pretty big catastrophes. By this, I'm hinting at the Jack the Ripper DLC. Now, not necessarily with much historical freedom or any at all. They did somehow manage to deter from historical accuracy so much that they sort of caused plot holes in the real world, which sort of broke the suspense of disbelief here and made me sort of think, yeah, this isn't a thing. There's no way this is canon. And I don't consider the Jack the Ripper DLC to be canon. I mean, it's just there for me, and I didn't really enjoy how they managed to butcher the Jack the Ripper sort of story arc and make me not want to know about Jack the Ripper as a historical sort of thing, or even a DLC. Like, I don't want to have to focus on Jack the Ripper in any form of the word ever again. Like, I don't want to have to look at Jack the Ripper in history thanks to that DLC. I just don't feel as if I can do that now without thinking about the DLC, which really did bother me quite a lot, because it really came with a lot of holes into the reality, which made me sort of not believe in it so much. And I don't want them to do that again with ancient settings such as ancient Egypt, Rome, Greece, or so on and so forth. But if they do, I mean, it's not like I'm going to know, because I'm not actually that well informed on ancient history, but they could still give it a shot and go too far, and like they did with the Jack the Ripper DLC, and cause some butcheries, which I'm really worried about, to be fair. And I think that if they have some historical guideline, or more historical guideline, then they will manage to keep the historical setting believable as things are playing out as they have in history, which is something that needs to be addressed. However, overall, I'm very looking forward to seeing what the next Assassin's Creed game is going to be about, whether it be modern setting or ancient setting. Modern being sort of in the last 2,000 years or so, but ancient being before that. Now, hopefully, Assassin's Creed Empire will not do bugger up on the bad points if it is in an ancient setting, and hopefully it'll do well if it is in a modern setting or ancient setting. Either way, it still stands. It's not like there's an exception here. I hope it goes well regardless of what it's saying. But guys, tell me what you think down below. Overall, I think there are pros and cons to everything, and an ancient setting would work to show us the origins of the Assassins and Templars, and should definitely be attempted at some point. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen, because they got to show us the origin stories in a game. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you are new, share, comment, etc. And I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So thanks for watching, guys. So yeah.